Wizend King who lived off in a distant land. In a distant land, this Wizend King did weavers one the tribes again. Tribes were living side by side, some down low and some up high, but the Wizend King looked all around and only saw one single ground. One sun, one moon, one starlit sky. Beneath the tribes all live their lives. One sun, one moon, one starlit sky. Beneath the tribes all live their lives. This Wizend King was known by name as a Akunaton, and the distant land in which he lived were the desert plains of Egypt. Now this Wizend King had one dear daughter, who by then was called Princess Scotia, and there came a time when she must flee, as the land in union was not to be. Beneath the tribes began to fight, because some were wrong and some were right. Beneath the tribes began to fight, because some were wrong and some were right. One sun, one moon, one starlit sky. Beneath the tribes all lived their lives. One sun, one moon, one starlit sky. Beneath the tribes all lived their lives. Scotia sailed away with the bravest warrior in search of land to rebuild her culture. They came upon an emerald isle, so wild, green and fertile. Along with them they brought the throne of their Wizend King in his distant land, and they were told to place the throne in a sacred land that would be their home. Beneath the tribes all live their lives. One sun, one moon, one starlit sky. Where's that song from? Right. Well, I actually wrote that about 16 years ago when I was in New Zealand, bizarrely enough. Obviously it has connections with where I was born, which is Scotland, and the place I've come to know as the Emerald Isles. It's definitely a tale. A tale, yes, that's right. A tale I've actually been told a few times by friends of friends, people I've met at events that I've had deep philosophical discussions with. It's definitely a tale that I'm expressing in my own words with a tune that I've come up with. I didn't actually write down the actual guitar to go with the lyrics. I just have the lyrics here. So this morning I tried a couple different versions of chords that I thought would work with it, and I decided on the second grouping. So that's a draft piece. I think I lost my way halfway through because I turned the page and I couldn't remember the chorus, and so that kind of knocked me off kilter a wee bit. But I managed to, I think, in the end, finish the tune. Again, I used to know all of this by the back of my hand. These are old tunes from a very long time ago. Seems fitting in the current age we're living in. You've got, again, the many divisions going on, whether it's, Scotland and England. That's been going on for quite a while. Obviously now we've got the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. But this whole divide, there's obviously historical records of that occurring in Egypt, or the land of Al-Kem. Kemet is another name for this land. I'm not sure I was actually aware of that when I wrote that tune. So, learn things as you go. However, it's definitely a tale, and it's a tale I've been told by several people. You could say random encounters who all share a similar view of the tale. They might tell the tale slightly differently. They may have slightly different versions of the same thing, but it basically comes down to the ancient past, and then what's written in history books by the victors compared to what actually happened, which is quite a big one, really. I don't think that's really, that awareness is just really not acknowledged at all. So that's why you have to write it in a tune as a tale. So it's obviously not actually real. It's just as they'd say, a tall tale. It's just an imagination, just something that I've come up in my head and wrote a tune about. There's lots of stuff in it though. Feels good. Not sure there's really another way of describing it, but I've tried my best to do my duty, my service, and pay respect to the tale that I was told by several people that then I've sort of put into tune. Plus, I think I had a book at one point which talked about it in length from a literature point of view. There is literature about it, even though maybe people would say, oh, it's just a tale. But still, the archetypes apply. You can just change the names. Archetypes still apply when the land's divided, and why the land's divided. Yeah. I could go on and on about that, actually. The specifics of the archetypes. history playing out, what's actually written in the history books compared to what actually happened. Who's the Wizend King? You know, that's an interesting one. And I've heard all different stuff since then, different views of Akhenaten, the king that's in the tune. So, again, it's a tune I wrote because of what I heard from various people at different times, talking about a similar story. Before I read other books about other people's opinions of Akhenaten, or whether there's actually literature about this tale, I just saw it as a tale I'd heard, you know, from at least 3 separate people in even different countries, different time periods in my life, entirely disconnected, but similar tale, not always told exactly the same. However, that's, I guess you could say that's my rendition of it. Again, it's not perfect. I am endeavouring to get back into my guitar to the levels I was before, at least to the levels I was before, and I found that one going through one of my attempts to record basically riffs, tunes, lyrics, ideas. Yeah. So there we go. That is an ancient tale that I have been, I've heard about many times. So is it a tale? Is it real? Is it not real? Is it real? Is it not real? Is it real? How do we tell? Going in maybe deeper in the philosophical discussion, if you've made it this way through the video. If history books are written by the victors and they keep out various sections to maintain their position, has that happened in history? There's definitely evidence of that happening in history. So what's real then? If we're being told that we have the absolute truth when there's evidence that history's been fabricated. And those that have, decided that's what history is would then call this a tall tale, a fabrication itself. So again, you have that same confrontation which is described in the book, which is about the fighting, you know, who's wrong and right and wrong, same stuff going on at the moment, a replay, I mentioned that before in one of my videos, talking about the 400-year cycle going back to the Civil War, even here in the Emerald Isles. I mentioned that to folks, just in passing, in the sense of the archetypes could potentially play out, and then what happened was the archetypes played out. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, all the Brexit stuff, the Scottish independence stuff, the English independence stuff, Europe. Again, you can change the archetypes. It becomes Europe and Britain rather than England, Scotland. A bigger thing and a smaller thing. Fighting. And most definitely, usually it's the bigger thing that wins, funnily enough. Whether that actually applies to truth, though, is another question. Because just because it's bigger doesn't mean it's more truthful. In fact, there's definitely evidence to say that's the opposite. It's just more powerful. And so we have the same stuff playing out: tribes fighting, protests. Oh, you're ill. I'm ill? Really? Nobody I know's ill. I've actually been healing myself for years now. That's how long it's taken. I've got evidence to back that up. Gigabytes evidence. So that's fascinating. I was already on a healing path before even the whole quarantine situation occurred. So I'm meant to just stop my own healing path because of something you've said on a TV? Yeah? Nobody I know is actually ill? Doesn't make sense to me logically. I can't just agree with you because you say so when I have evidence to the contrary. Yeah. I'm not the only one either, and in this situation I'm therefore being labelled as wrong, which is quite fascinating. I've definitely been labelled as wrong many times in life. I'm wrong because I'm mildly dyslexic. Yeah, I'm wrong because I'm bold. I'm different. You know. I'm wrong because I don't have a successful enough career. Yeah, I'm wrong. I'm just wrong because I don't agree with the crowd. I don't always agree with the bigger group. So therefore I'm wrong. Just as a matter of, like, automatic behaviour. You know? Like I say, evidence to the contrary. Alright, okay. It's a fascinating experience to actually be the person who's labelled wrong when you have evidence to the contrary. That's certainly a fascinating experience. However, like I said, I'm on a healing path, and was on a healing path before the planetary situation occurred. So before that even occurred, I was already focusing on healing. I was already focusing on boosting my immune system, learning more about what even an immune system is, and there's all kinds of new data on what the actual immune system is. And in fact, loads of that data was, you know, about to be shared with the world more right before the quarantine situation occurred. So, yeah, who's wrong and right again? Yeah, is there a middle path, perhaps? That's the path I walk on Arthur's Seat. Yeah. Yes, I find it the most relaxing path. Many ways to interact with the immune system. Yeah, definitely the main one is focusing on the blood. But you can also access the immune system through your stomach, through your throat, directly. Yeah. If you still have your tonsils, because they're part of your immune system. So, again, that in itself already, if you're a doctor and you're diagnosing someone, probably one of the first questions, if you're relating to something to do with the immune system, is does the person have tonsils or not have tonsils? And that's a question I'm still yet to actually find out. What is the latest data? I looked for it, but I couldn't find it. Just how many people have actually had their tonsils removed? I'm pretty sure it became quite a popular thing in the last half of the last century, when before pollution was taken back, before anti-pollution measures were put in place. You know, when we were driving around with leaded petrol, and kids would get more sick more often. Yeah, and I was one of them. Yeah, that's right. But I didn't have my tonsils removed. Yeah. Obviously, eventually leaded petrol was removed, and you know, they remove loads of people's tonsils, and it was just labelled, oh, you're sick because you caught a bug. Yeah. So again, this is evidence. You can agree or disagree. There's definitely well and truly enough evidence to back up that point of view. Whether it could be proven or not, well, did they take samples of saliva back then? This is a new thing they're doing now. So how do we know for sure? Right. Well, there we go then. Yeah. Yeah, there's entire books about this. Yeah. Substandard practices of industry being swept under the rug, people getting sick, and that being blamed on a bug that's going around, which then allows experimental vaccines to occur as the solution, and then these substandard industrial practices are then sometimes improved, so then the evidence is not there anymore. I think in some instances they're just ignored though. And I think one of the main things about that one is they say there's just too many people. If you look at the deeper, darker aspect of the nefarious global level of things, where they just look at people as numbers without like a soul. Basically, there's too many of us, is what they say. So they can use that as a way to decide anything, really. Is that the problem, though? Or is it that actually the way that we organise our society and the way we run it with bits of paper, with numbers on and digits on a screen, is the only way to live? And because of that being put on a pedestal in the Western societies, or what are called developed countries, that's what everybody aspires to. And yet, where did the sickness originate? It originated in a developed country. Yeah, in fact, there's evidence to say it was actually released in several developed countries. Yeah, there's all kinds of information that nobody really talks about. Like the distant past, so many events have occurred, and they prefer to sweep it under the rug and get on with life, what remains of it, in whatever situation or scenario that we find ourselves in. Yeah, I'm certainly concerned. I'm definitely concerned. I'd like to understand what's really happened. I myself personally, though, looking at the data and my own health practices and what I've learned and what I'm continuing to learn, I've had some pretty intense illnesses in my life, and I've survived all of them. I'm not entirely sure how, but I did. And that's partly what inspires me with the concept of our bodies, our vehicles are actually far more powerful than what we're usually told. And what can you say? That's what, working on this tune this morning, contemplating the sort of conversations I would have had with folks who would have then told me about the ancient tale of Scotia. Seems appropriate to have a bit of a philosophical ending to this video, because that's the kind of conversations I would have had with the certain individuals I met throughout my life, who then actually, recounted that tale to me on separate occasions in slightly different ways, for me to then go travelling myself to a distant land. And then one of the things I was doing then was actually a few open mics, which for me was a huge thing, since I definitely have issues with playing in front of people. But I definitely got over some fears there. Some fears. Yeah. So that in itself is a tale of how the tale was told and where the tale originated, and that was from different separate tales. And then I went to distant land to write a tale, and then I came back. So, that in itself is a tale. A tale of re-remembering. A tale to point out the holes in the history books that are purposefully filled in to suit a specific agenda. Yeah. There we go. We could philosophize for that for many hours. I'm off to have my breakfast now. It's pretty early in the morning. I felt like just having a go on that tune, because that tune's definitely been bouncing around in my mind. Obviously, I'll have to work on all these tunes more to perfect them, and that's another thing I'll be doing. So there we go. Once there was a Wizend King.